The textile sector, if India is to become a champion in man-made sectors where 80% of the trade is really, and you're making inputs far more expensive simply because there are two large manufacturers in India, but are providing those inputs at about 35 to 40% higher price, and you do not allow imports of inputs to come in from abroad. That means that you're actually killing job creation, and that is making India highly globally uncompetitive.
You are the brain behind God's own country slogan, turning Kerala into a global destination. What is it that makes you a bureaucrat who got things done?
The communist government, as a punishment posting, made me Secretary Tourism in Kerala. Nobody had heard of Kerala as a tourism destination. People used to go to Rajasthan, people used to go to Kashmir, but nobody would come to Kerala. Kerala had only one product, which is the Kovalam beach. But I took it upon myself to redefine tourism in Kerala. We went back to the roots of Kerala. We did not ape the West. We brought in new products. The backwaters of Kerala, the houseboats, all the carpenters had gone away to Gulf. We brought them back. These were rice boats. Not a single nail is used on them. And we went back to the traditional art forms of Kerala, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam. We went back to the martial arts of Kerala, Kalripet, which is the mother of all martial arts. And then, the National Geographic editor came to Kerala and he said,
give some examples of an entrepreneur. What change might he or she face once these 4 labor codes come into existence across the country?
First of all, if you do not paint your bathroom, for instance, you are subjected to a 6 months imprisonment. That will go. Secondly, if you do not provide resting space for your staff, then you are liable to another 6 months imprisonment, which are all outdated norms. But I think the real reforms, Monika, now really lie in the hands of the state governments. Centre has done its bit. You need 12 states of India to grow at about 10% plus for the long haul. That's important. The western part of India and the southern part of India has grown. You now need the eastern part of India to grow rapidly. Lee Kuan Yew at one stage said India is crazy because there are so many languages, very difficult to govern. But what was then a disadvantage is now in the age of AI a huge advantage, because with these large language models, which Sarvam and all are doing, Sarvam is one of our AI startup, which you can use the local dialects, the local languages. You can be sitting, Bhashni, what do? You're sitting in a rural area speaking with voice. You're not using any writing, but with your voice you can fill up any local form of the state government or the municipality, central government, using your voice. That will fill up your form, it will go get your approval, give you the benefit, your money will reach your bank account. That is what AI will do eventually.
How far are we from that?
I think another 6 months to...
That's it? Welcome to the Growing India podcast. I'm Monika Halan. I talk to thought leaders in economics, policy, geopolitics, geoeconomics to deconstruct this increasingly complicated world. The Growing India podcast is a joint initiative between Groww and me to talk about India's most pressing issues. Today, I am delighted to introduce the reformer, the very versatile Mr. Amitabh Kant. Thank you so much for taking time to come all the way here.
Oh, thank you, Monika.
So today, newspaper, we are shooting on 21st November. There is a story of how the QCO, the Quality Control Order, on some textile inputs have been taken away. So then I looked at, what else is there? And to my horror, for I think March 2026, we have some of the following things which are now going to be on the QCO list. Electric knife, electric noodle maker, electric potato peeling, waterbed heater, foot warming devices, heating mats. What is going on? So there is one question really is that countries in Europe especially have what are called non-tariff barriers. So for the audience, non-tariff barriers are basically things which are not as a hard tariff, but they will say, child labor or quality control. They will put those metrics which are outside of the hard tariffs. Is this our answer to that? Or what is happening here?
My view is that quality control orders have been protectionism in its worst form, especially because many of these quality control orders have been imposed on inputs and intermediates. And that has put a huge burden on MSMEs in India. And that is making them totally globally uncompetitive in the global value chains. So, firstly, the QCO regime has spread in a very rampant manner over 760 different commodities and sectors. Now, if you were doing it to putting a non-tariff barrier, you do it to 1, 2, 3, 4 couple of things. But to spread it in a wide, rampant manner has actually impacted India's growth story, and it has impacted the end manufacturer, for whom inputs and raw materials have become very expensive. Just to give you an example of the textile sector, if India is to become a champion in man-made sectors, where 80% of the trade is really, and you're making inputs far more expensive simply because there are two large manufacturers in India of inputs who say that, but are providing those inputs at about 35 to 40% higher price, and you do not allow imports of inputs to come in from abroad. That means that you are actually killing job creation, you're killing your inability to penetrate global market with the end product in man-made fibers. And that is making India highly globally uncompetitive, killing job creation at the back in India. So I think it's a very good move. I've written extensively on this, and my view is that never put QCOs on inputs, in intermediates, and also components.
But it is okay to put it on final goods.
Final goods, yes.
For anti-dumping.
If the final goods are impacting you, you want to stop that, a final end product, so that you want to encourage manufacturing here. That's fine. But that should also be on a case-to-case basis after detailed analysis. Secondly, it can't be left to one ministry to decide this, because this should be there should be a process to it. It's very important, because in India, if you leave it to one ministry, the ministry goes haywire. It should be an interministerial job, which should be done after detailed analysis. It should be put out into the marketplace. You should invite objections from other stakeholders, so that MSMEs should be heard out on what is the implication of that on those manufacturers in terms of jobs, etc. Nobody is being heard out, and every day you have a new quality control order being brought out. In the last 1 year, you've had almost 500 quality control orders without even hearing, without even going through a due process. So that has been a nightmare.
So this is bureaucracy. You give it something, and then, like we've seen this happen with the whole digital KYC, now know your vehicle. So you start something, but the bureaucracy tends to run with it, which finally harms both the citizen and the entrepreneur.
So I don't think I'll blame the bureaucracy alone. There's been a political process involved in it, not at the highest level, but this has impacted India. And if you want to make India a manufacturing nation, we must be very clear that we want to penetrate global value chains, which would require us to import inputs. The way the global value chains work is that you can't be a manufacturer of everything in India. You'll have to import vast number of components, vast number of raw materials, vast number of intermediates, and vast number of inputs to manufacture here, to export abroad. But over a period of time, it takes 4 to 5 years. Once you start manufacturing the end product, over a period of 5 years, you will then bring the other ecosystems and start manufacturing the intermediates, the raw materials, the components, the machinery here, but it's a 5-year process. If you start doing it overnight, you will make yourself totally uncompetitive.
So I'm still trying to sort of give a little bit of rope to the whole QCO mess, which there is. Is there any chance that this is being done deliberately so that we have something to negotiate us down on? So we are on trade negotiations with EU, with the US. So you don't think that we've done this deliberately so that then we take these away as a negotiation?
No, this has been done for some large enterprises who are keen to protect themselves, but they are making inputs at very expensive costs.
You said, yes.
And if you're making inputs 40% higher and government protects you through a quality control order, you'll never make yourself competitive.
Correct.
So you need to become globally competitive.
That has been taken away right now. Okay, so that's good. So, just building on this.
It's been taken away in some sectors.
In some sectors,
you
textile.
need to do it much more in many other sectors.
Yeah. And you've been known as a reformer. You've been known as, I think people know you as the face of NITI Aayog and the G20 Sherpa, but there is, decades of work in the bureaucracy, the whole Kerala tourism story. You are the brain behind the God's own country slogan, turning Kerala into a global destination, the incredible India, and a small story. So I was on part of some fellowship and there was an Indonesian government official. She said, you know what, you people have just taken away what we might have used. So they, I think, came out with wonderful Indonesia. But she said, she was so envious. She says, who thought of it? At that time, I didn't know it was you. But what is it that makes you a bureaucrat who got things done? You have said yourself that bureaucrats are status quoist. One is how did you, what makes you different and how did you survive?
Well, I didn't survive. Actually, I got into tourism simply because I couldn't survive. I got into a major problem with the communist government in Kerala. And I was without actually a posting for about over 10, 11 months. I thought that was the end of my career. I was a very young officer at that point of time. And, 11 months without a posting, I thought I'd better quit. And then, the communist government, as a punishment posting, made me Secretary Tourism in Kerala. Nobody had heard of Kerala as a tourism destination. People used to go to Rajasthan, people used to go to Kashmir, but nobody would come to Kerala. And Kerala had only one product, which is the Kovalam beach. But I took it upon myself to, redefine tourism in Kerala. We went back to the roots of Kerala. We did not ape the West. We brought in new products, the backwaters of Kerala, the houseboats. All the carpenters had gone away to Gulf. We brought them back. These were rice boats. Not a single nail is used on them. And we went back to the traditional art forms of Kerala, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam. We went back to the martial arts of Kerala, Kalripet, which is the mother of all martial arts. We went back to traditional Kerala cuisine, which now has become so popular with appam and stew. And we revived the traditional architecture of Kerala, which is the Nalkettam houses. So we went back to the history, the civilization, the art forms of Kerala and revived them. And that differentiated Kerala.
Yeah.
And then, the National Geographic editor came to Kerala and he said that this is an exotic paradise. He wrote about it and said it's one of the greatest exotic paradises of the world. And he said it was exotic not merely because of its natural beauty, this unique backwaters, the serene backwaters when you float in the houseboat and, this unique experience that you have. But Kerala is exotic because it has very high physical quality of life index. It's the only state which has 100% literacy, very advanced human development index, nutritional standards. And when you superimpose that with this great tourism product, it's one of the greatest destinations on earth.
Yeah, and recently I heard you say that, we need to spend 20,000 crore in tourism. India needs to become, this is the highest job generator. The multiplier effect is huge. But, and I'll tell you a small story. So it's an anecdote, but I think we can multiply it. So very large international group wanted to set up this top of the line resort in Goa. Land was acquired. And then came the NGOs, the journalists, the lawyers, and the politicians. It was mired in so much mess that they actually exited. And I think we can say that this is the story in so many of the places. So is it just the money that the government can invest? How do you deal with on ground? And these are state level problems. The center can't do much. They can only allocate in the budget. But on the ground, and we have a judiciary which also doesn't really move, right? And there are issues about some of the judgments, the way that they come.
So tourism has a huge multiplier impact. For every direct job that you create another about 12 to 13 indirect jobs. So it has a huge multiplier impact in India. It impacts the livelihoods of vast number of citizens. So when I was talking about more money, I was talking in terms of money for brand marketing. Specific question that was asked was about resources for brand marketing. India hasn't done a decade of marketing, about on Incredible India. Incredible India was done when Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. I worked with a young officer with Mr. Jagmohan, who was then the Tourism Minister. We branded and marketed India. My view is that India has a tremendous amount of civilization. It has some of the greatest heritage sites, and it has unique experiences. It needs to be promoted and marketed. But more than that, we need to really think big in terms of creating experiences from the point of arrival to the point of departure. Totally flawless and seamless. And also, we need many more resorts and hotels, large ones. And that is something which the state governments need to do. Today, it requires almost about 55 approvals from the state governments to put up a hotel. All this needs to be scrapped, totally scrapped. And states need to make establishment of infrastructure far more easy, simple at the state level, so that you can put a lot of more resources into tourism, which can then have a massive multiplier impact in terms of job creation at the state level. So you need to deregulate hugely in terms of getting approvals and clearances from all and sundry for putting up hotels. That's important.
And how do you deal with the vultures that descend? Because it's become sort of a done thing. A project is coming up, and sure enough, the litigation will start. I think for the coastal road, Mumbai, they found something about corals was there, that they will get destroyed. And there was, I think, 4 square feet of coral. This is absurd.
So, everything can't be done by the center.
That's what exactly.
The states, the districts. So some of this, the state governments need to send clear messages that we need to put up great resorts, create great experiences. If Singapore can do it, set up great hotels. Every year they set up about 15 to 20 hotels. If you look at Dubai, for instance, they've put up almost about 600 hotels in a small place like that. And really top of the line world-class hotels. So India needs to create world-class hotels and get the best chains to manage them. That's important. It'll end up creating large number of jobs and make India a great tourism destination. We get very few tourists in India. It's important to understand this. India is buying about 2,000 planes now between Indigo, Air India. 2,000 plane means we'll end up exporting people from India as tourists to the rest of the world and not get tourists to India. So you need a large number. We should be attracting nothing less than high value tourists. I'm not talking about low value tourists. We should be attracting nothing less than 50 to 60 million tourists to start off with. There is no reason why with so many planes we shouldn't be attracting them.
Right. So along with the whole story of tourism is the issue about safety. So India is seen as an unsafe destination, although I will argue. But I think there is a problem with women travelers where there is a sort of cultural understanding that you go after especially the women, the touching, the staring, now selfies. it's a cultural thing almost.
Mm.
How does a country change this attitude towards women? And it's a deeper problem. And it's affecting our, like you said, the job creation multiplier is so large and we have so much to offer. I mean, just imagine, people actually come for the big fat Indian wedding. You have the heritage. I don't need to tell that to you. There's so much to do here.
So 2 clear lessons out of all that has happened. One is that when an incident of this nature happens, you need very swift action to be taken. And it needs to be publicized very widely across media and show the face of the person who's been punished. So if you have an incident like that happen, quite often you're saying that this has happened to this particular woman rather than the men who's done it. Right. We don't even provide swift justice within a week or so. But more important than that, put his name out, put his photograph out, publicize it widely that so-and-so has done it. We must name and shame them. That's important, very critical. Also, I think our judicial process takes too long in such cases. It should all be done within, to my mind, within a fortnight or so that swift, very ruthless justice is done. This is what is done in Singapore. This is what is done in Dubai. These are destinations. I mean, Singapore is 750 kilometers. 750 kilometers means that it's almost 1/3 the size of Delhi, but attracts 4 times the number of tourists into Singapore, simply because of 2 things: safety, security, which is what Dubai also does. And second thing, which is even more important, is the cleanliness. We must ensure that our roads, etc., are absolutely neat and clean and tidy. If Indore can do it, if Mysore can do it, if Surat can do it, so can other cities. I mean, you go to Delhi, you travel from the heart of Delhi to the airport, the roads on either side is littered with plastic. I don't know why Delhi can't do it. Or Mumbai has improved radically in terms of infrastructure, but other cities are doing it. So you need all the entry points, a massive movement for cleanliness, which is what the Prime Minister had done. But we need to bring it back center stage again.
Yeah. So again, same when you go to, say, Athens and you look at the Acropolis. When I saw that, I was reminded of Jaisalmer, a fort on a hill.
Yeah.
My God, the mess just outside the fort, the dirt, the cows, the street dogs, just the garbage.
So one of the key things, Monica, is that you want tourism back center stage in India. You want to attract a lot of high-value tourists, not mass tourism. I'm against mass tourism. I'm in favor of high-value tourism because one tourist high value is equivalent to 20 other mass tourists. You need high-value tourists from abroad. But for them, cleanliness, an environment of safety, security is very, very critical. And the experience of that is very critical.
Yeah, it's a project which is, I think, it cannot be done at the center. It has to go down to the district.
Every municipal governance has to come center stage.
Correct.
Without top-class municipal governance, you can't have tourism. That is the key to good tourism.
Right. And also, it's also the key to ease of living. And this actually segues very nicely into the next part of the conversation, where we know that so much has changed in the last 15 years. We've just accelerated that. The curve has just got sharper. But there are 2 parts of the machine which are lagging: the bureaucracy and the judiciary. And I look for incentives. And I think that if you put the incentives in the right place, you get people to do the right thing. So for a bureaucrat, possibly the incentive is to do nothing wrong. And our judicial system is geared so that cases stretch on. Because every hearing for a senior will be lakhs of rupees. So which senior is going to try and wrap a case up fast? Right? So the incentives are really in the wrong place. But then how do you change the wheel of a running machine? How do you do that?
So 2 things. One is that I worked on the aspirational district program, which the Prime Minister had driven actually. And his view is that focus on good governance. And, for years in India, bureaucracy is driven by physical and financial achievement that I'm allocating you 10 lakhs, please spend 10 lakhs by the end of. So we need to define our outcomes very clearly. So once you have the outcomes defined very clearly, make people compete with each other. That's critical. Today, what was not possible when I was a young district collector in Calicut and Kerala, I worked very hard on education, health, nutrition, but the data came out 6 years later. Today, you get data real time, third-party data real time on the mobile. Put that data out in terms of performance, minute to minute, minute to minute, month to month, and make them everybody compete. Put the results of that competition out in public domain. Name and shame them. Everybody from elected representatives, district collector, bureaucrats, every unit, put the data out on performance against defined outcomes. If your outcome is defined clearly and data is brought in, create a sense of competition, you will have results pouring in. My own experience of aspirational district is 115 districts transformed themselves. 20% of the population of India, much of the results are now being seen in elections, could be transformed because people were competing on education, health, nutrition. Results were being put out in public domain. It was all the vision of the Prime Minister in many ways on this outcome, better, good governance. But put that out in public domain. It's very important. Make every street in terms of cleanliness compete. What is the harm? Put those pictures out. Put those outcomes out in actual domain. Whoever does the best, give them a reward. So we rewarded districts which were better competing, which performed better. The district collectors got a lump sum of money by which they could use that money for doing better projects in their districts. That is what needs to be done. So in India, we must fix outcomes, we must take data, we must make people compete, and we must put that data out in public domain. And name and shame everyone.
So examples of where this has actually happened, because we stop short of naming and shaming. There's this, sort of a bleeding heart attitude, bichara, family wala hai, yaar, why are you finally going after the guy? There is this whole hesitation in a hard outcome-based approach. There is a lot of it's okay. That's chalta hai, just is okay. Everybody sort of agrees that, yeah, it's okay. That's how it is. So any examples, concrete examples?
So no compassion on this.
Yes. No, I'm fully with you.
No sympathy.
Absolutely.
We are a developing country.
Yes.
We need to move from $4 trillion to a $30 trillion economy. On outcomes, performance, we need to be ruthless. We need to be absolutely tough. We need to deliver on ground. Implementation is the key to our growth.
Right. Any examples of...
I gave you the example of aspirational district program.
Any
the collectors delivered. Those who were not... So the important thing was get people who will stay on to that job for a period of 3 to 4 years. We got posts of medical officers filled. We got young collectors. All of them delivered. Those who were not delivered were thrown out. Because we were putting out performance in district. Every chief minister monitored it. And that is what you need to do.
So let me then, on this accountability story, so we are here in Delhi. We are seeing the garbage piled up everywhere. I had actually thought that with the election, the new government in place, we will probably see some change. We are not seeing that manifest in Delhi. And that's the story across so much of the country. We see the unauthorized buildings come up. We see buildings with very little attention to fire and other hazards. It's not as if the municipal officer doesn't know what's happening, because he comes and checks if I have 2 larvae in my cooler water. Okay, so he can come and check my cooler water and fine me 1,000 just because he feels like it, even though there is no cooler. But he cannot see the building coming up. As a citizen, how am I, who do I complain to? What do I do? How do you fix accountability on just the municipal corporations? How do you even change that? I think Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had said, कि वो तो मैं भी नहीं कर सकता उनको.
नहीं, ये बात तो सही नहीं है कि कोई नहीं कर सकते. First of all, I think it's very important that Delhi, again, you have a municipality.
Yeah.
So there's certain things which the municipality must do.
Correct.
In terms of cleanliness, etc. In terms of the road management, why should there be plastic on the roads when you need to bring in, you do the night sweeping, swapping, whatever needs to be done. But there's a failure of municipal governance. But there's also a multiplicity of agencies in Delhi, but at the cutting edge, it has to be the municipality. But more than that, I think it's the citizens of Delhi who are also to be blamed, because the citizens of Delhi do not do segregation of waste. They do not take responsibility. They've got used to this chalta hua attitude. So let's not blame government for everything. I think the citizens of Delhi, a lot of blame goes to them. Go to Indore, there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of ownership. You throw a piece of paper, the citizen there will catch hold of you. There's a huge penal provision there. There's a sense of great ownership by the citizens of Indore. Where is the sense of ownership by the citizens of Delhi? They must hold the government responsible for a lot of things. Colony by colony, colony by colony, citizens by citizens. There is no segregation of waste taking place in Delhi. Where are the colonies holding their municipalities to account?
So you think the RWAs should take a lead?
Of course,
in
they must
doing this.
Absolutely, they must take the lead. They must hold everybody responsible. They must push for better governance in Delhi. But I also feel that there is a lot to be done in terms of the air quality. I mean, in terms of the air quality, you need a lot of within the Delhi and the neighboring areas. There's still a lot of firewood burning by chowkidars, etc., which needs to be replaced by LPG. That's number one. Number two, there are still power plants who have not upgraded their technology, which should be closed down. Number three, there's a lot of just outside, as you drive down to Rajasthan, etc., you have a lot of brick manufacturing units which are outdated technology, which needs to be set right. Number fourth, Delhi must be very ambitious and say that in the next 3 years, we'll make all our two-wheelers, three-wheelers fully electric. And by 2030, all modes of transportation must go electric in Delhi. This ambition has never been put forth strongly.
But surely it's up to the government to do that in the
course.
terms of, look, even Indore, it was led by the municipal, I think, corporator.
No, that's right.
So here you don't see that leadership. You don't know who the person is.
No.
We don't even show up for that election because we don't know. It doesn't matter. Unfortunately, there is so much of graft in this corporation that you basically say nothing will happen. Why even bother?
Yeah. No,
so it's like a stalemate.
I'm a great believer that this has to be a mix of both the top vision, the leadership, which has to be essentially driven by the Chief Minister of Delhi. There has to be support from the central government, full support, and there has to be municipal governance.
Right.
And backing it, all this has to be the citizens of Delhi, all this together. Because the air quality must be improved. It's having a huge impact on the lives of citizens of Delhi. You won't have tourists coming in here. You know, people will suffer. Young children are suffering. And therefore, the air quality, transforming Delhi during the peak season, even the G20 could not be held in November, December. We had to do it in September.
Yeah.
So, transforming Delhi for the sake of India is very critical because it has huge adverse multiplier impact.
Why are we stuck? Like, we are not moving on this. Every year, the same story happens every year. Like, I grew up in a Delhi where December meant beautiful mist, picnics in some park.
We used to sleep on top of
just
on the chats
you can't do
in
that.
November, December. You can't do this anymore.
So, and every year the same thing. We, approach October, the thing starts and then we all forget. Yeah. We are also battling as citizens. So we battle things like irregular water supply. You're replicating so many of the things that the government should be providing.
Hopefully with this new government, things should be, you should have much better governance.
I'm honestly hoping that this will work.
There should be transformation and we should see results coming in the next 4 to 5 months.
So I was going to wait for a year before I commented, but I've just jumped the gun a bit. Yeah. We know, I think everybody agrees, the next 15 to 20 years are a pivotal moment. We've got this once in a lifetime of a country chance of really achieving GDP is fine, but a higher per capita income, quality of life, and all of that. We have this choice of a red pill and a blue pill. If you've seen The Matrix, red pill is the difficult choice, but that's the correct one. And the blue pill is status quo, really. The red pill for us is reforms, land and labor. So let's keep land out. We've seen what happened with the farm law bills. But we know that 29 labor laws were turned into 4 labor codes, right? So basically, very briefly, what does this mean? What are these 4 labor codes? What is stopping us from transformation? Because what I understand is that this will decriminalize a lot of the procedural lapses that an entrepreneur makes.
Yeah. So, the key to all this is India has the worst labor laws. Actually, the only other country which has a even worse labor law than us is Pakistan. So India has the second worst labor laws in the world, according to a study done by ILO some time back. And rightly so, this government, the Prime Minister took upon himself that these need to be reformed. The Parliament passed the transformation into 4 specific acts, which were then sent to the state governments. Majority of the state governments have approved them. They started implementing them, and that will make things easier. A lot will get decriminalized. But the Jan Vishwas bill earlier has decriminalized a lot, except on the labor front, which should all happen now. The crux of the challenge is in the labor laws, which should happen now. But many other things, the government has shown huge amount of boldness and initiative. What the government has done in terms of ease of doing a business, in terms of transforming a number of other acts and decriminalizing and doing away with outdated laws has been quite enormous, according to me.
Give some examples of what an entrepreneur what change might he or she face once these 4 labor codes come into existence across the country.
Well, first of all, that if you do not paint your bathroom, for instance, you are subjected to a 6 months imprisonment.
Right.
That'll go. Secondly, you will, if you do not provide resting space for your staff, then you are liable to another 6 months imprisonment, which are all outdated norms. So all that you need to do is specify very clearly, which has all been done in this new act, but these 4 acts need to be now accepted because they've all been passed by the states. It's a simple process. It should go through. And then we should look at many more reforms not merely in the labor laws, but many other places. But I think the real reforms, Monika, now really lie in the hands of the state governments. Centre has done its bit. States now really need to become easy, simple, push for greater investments in India. You need 12 states of India to grow at about 10% plus for the long haul. That's important. The western part of India and the southern part of India has grown. You now need the eastern part of India to grow rapidly.
And I think we are seeing some competition between the states.
Yeah.
In terms of attracting business.
So we've been doing this ease of doing business ranking. We started this a couple of years back. Several states have improved radically on that. The only place where we've not improved is on the side of judiciary in terms of speedier disposal of cases, etc. But on all other fronts, we've improved radically. That's the area where we need to improve very sharply. But we were able to bring in goods and services tax, which is totally digital. We were able to bring in the insolvency and bankruptcy code. We were able to bring in the Real Estate Regulation Act. All this has been path-breaking measures to my mind.
Yeah. And judiciary is not something that we can solve from the outside.
It'll require a huge amount of judicial intervention by itself.
But why would an institution reform itself when it's got its, it's running, it's got its, privileges and perks and the way of doing business? What is their incentive to change?
So my view is that the more of technology that comes in, the more of digitization that comes in, all the processes where we've actually improved in the last few years has been because of the process of digitization. I mean, today in India, Monika, you're able to do a fast payment, or you're able to do a stock market transaction, or you're able to buy an insurance policy all within 30 seconds to 1 minute on the back of your mobile, anywhere, anytime. It's all digitization of and the fact that you have a digital identity for every Indian. I think the same process of digitization needs to go through the judicial processes. Everything needs to go through a digital process, and the intervention of digitization with artificial intelligence will make a massive transformation. Second thing I think is that while the judges are very good at giving verdicts, you need professional good managers to manage their offices. You somehow need to, much like we have now got hospital administrators, the doctors perform their job, and you have hospital administrators. Similarly, in the judiciary, the final decision may be with the Chief Justice, but you need a number of good judicial managers attached to the Chief Justice so that there's better management of the administrative function of the courts.
Is it happening anywhere?
I think some places, Kerala, for instance, is using digital technology in a big way. The Kerala High Court. And similarly in some other places. But we need to push this much quicker, much faster.
So you might need a chief who's technologically enabled to, because there was one chief who during COVID really pushed for online hearings.
I think you need to do it with all the chief justices of this at the state level needs to push that.
Right. Okay, so I'm coming to this question of freebies to women. Women have emerged as this big focus for politicians. Politician has figured out it's an important vote. So the income taxpayer in me, I feel gutted every time there's an announcement of 10,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, Mahila Yojana, this, that. Free bus rides. But then the economist in me looks at data, and I am seeing improvement in health, in agency over their lives, financial independence. So you're beginning to see outcomes. There were some stories of women, fleeing toxic households because now suddenly they had money with them. So there's increased agency. How should we as taxpayers think about this issue of freebies? It's coming out of our taxes. And yet, in this case, there possibly has been the needle for women may have moved, because women have traditionally been out of assets. We don't, not me, but women don't own assets.
So my belief has been that, it's born out of the fact that there's one study by the World Economic Forum which says that it'll take 132 years for us to bring equality between men and women in the world. In India, they said it will take around the same period of time. Now, none of us have 132 years. So, for me, all freebies are bad except the ones which are being given to women. And the reason for that is that various studies have shown that where you allow the women to take a decision, where you provide, instead of saying that I'm going to give nutrition to children through Anganwadis, etc., if you give that amount of outlay to the women knows how to take care of the children the best and actually will provide the best nutritious food available to the children, her children, and will actually take good care. There's nobody better than the mother. It's not the Anganwadi worker, but the mother who will take care. All studies where there's been an impact, if you look at Brazil, if you look at many other African countries, where you've given direct benefit to the women, it's the best impact. And therefore, my view is that if you want to bring this equality between men and women in India, and if you really want to transform the lives of women in India, the fastest route to this is to provide direct benefit to women. Now, it should not be done too close to the election to my mind, but the fastest route to progress and equality and to transform India is by providing a direct benefit into the bank account of the women, but also ensuring that several of the goods that should be available in the market space for her to make a difference to the life in terms of nutrition, in terms of education, in terms of health, are available close to her household, so that then she's able to use that for the betterment of, because the challenge in India today is, the biggest challenge to my mind in India is that India grows with 50% of its population. India is growing at about 7.5% with 50% of its population. The other 50% of the population is actually just women or, people unemployed, living on Manrega, etc. And you need, for them to become active participants in Indian economy is really the key. If you want India to grow at 10% for the next 3 decades, year after year, year after year. If imagine 50% of your women become active participants in your economy, then you've transformed India for the next 3 to 4 decades. And to my mind, this is the best move that the politicians have made. They may be winning elections, but this is the best move that has been made in India, transforming lives of women by putting resources directly into their hands. I earlier had a different belief. My belief was that actually we should, by law, say that in India still you have households where parents in their will provide all their assets to their sons and not to the girl children. Even today, the houses, all the properties will go to the boys and not to the girls. So by law, it said for a generation, all assets should be transferred to the women. I also believed for a long time that actually Indian government by law should actually give 1.5% more interest to women on their savings rather than men. But I think this bid about putting money straight into the bank account of the women is the best deal that has happened in India. It may have benefited politicians, but it will transform India in the long run. Women are the key to India's growth and prosperity. Women are the key to taking India to a 10% growth rate over a long period of time. And we don't have 132 years to
No, we don't. We need to do it now. And like money is power. You're basically through the bank, you're empowering her.
And the women will be the best user for their households, for nutrition, for improving their lives of their children, for improving their education, their health, and for transforming their houses also.
So the taxpayer should think this is money well spent, right?
That's what I think.
Yeah, okay.
My view on this is very strong. It shouldn't be done too close to the election.
Right.
But as long as politicians are using it for women, this will make a huge difference to India's growth story in the long run.
Right. So every freebie is not bad.
Oh, well, all freebies are bad. All doles are bad, except for those which are being given to women. I strongly feel that this will be transformational in the long run for India.
The 800 million people getting food grain?
Well, I think it should be brought down over a period of time.
Okay.
I mean, it was done at a particular period of time during COVID. But I think we should be focused on those living below the poverty line.
Right.
I mean, people like me and you don't deserve free ration. So
I don't think we take it also.
You don't take it, but it should be given. It should be very targeted at those living below the poverty line.
Right. And things like farm loans are the worst things to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, taxpayer money being...
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think even much like PM had said that, on LPG connection, etc., those who have extra connection should give it, etc., give it up. So many of us should start giving up things which we do not need. I think eventually it should be for those below the poverty line.
Right. And that number is shrinking.
Yeah.
We know the data.
Sharp.
Really
We've moved over 330 million people above the poverty line. It's been one of the biggest success stories of India.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to move to the digital public infrastructure. You have said that it's going to be, it's going to be bigger than big tech. The digital public infrastructure that India has created. So we know the UPI, we know what has happened there. What is the next step on this? What other digital public infrastructure are we building? And then how does that feed into the whole startup story? Because see, when you look at what the startups have done to India, they have transformed the young people's aspirations. Even school kids are saying startup karenge. When we were in school, we just said naukri mil jaye. Just like, we were just donkeys. Let's just get a job. This generation is growing up in a different India. So I want to move from the digital public infrastructure into it feeding into the startup story.
Yeah. So let me start with the startups.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
in 2016, when we launched the Startup India movement, there were just about 100 odd startups in India.
Yeah.
Today, we have over about 180,000 startups. We have, over about close to 170 odd unicorns. And the remarkable thing is that when we did the digital identity, and between 2015 and 2016 and 2017, we opened up about 580 million bank accounts.
Yes.
Then we seeded them with Aadhaar and with mobile number. Now, that was the toughest part. But once that was done, it led to fast payments. So you had, PhonePe competing with Google Pay, you had Paytm competing with Amazon Pay. But then, many of these young startups started looking at the payment history, MobiKwik, Pine Lab, etc. They started providing credit on the basis of your payment history. Then you had many other startups like Groww, Zerodha, Upstock. They started taking, stock markets to tier 2, tier 3 cities, rural areas, etc. And small transactions on the back of mobile, people started doing stock market transactions. And then you had another set of startups like GoDigit and Acco, etc., who started providing insurance, all in rural areas and tier 2, tier 3 cities. So you have fast payments, you have credit, you have stock market, you have insurance, you have fast tags, you have all this happening within 30 seconds to 1 minute on the mobile, on the go, anywhere, anytime. This is what is happening, actually. Yeah. This doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. What this has actually led to is that the total elimination of the paper process. So the cost of acquisition of a customer has fallen, actually, hugely. The cost of acquisition, which used to be $30 in India, has come down to less than 15 cents, according to World Bank. So what has happened is that we've ensured that there has been a digital transformation which the world has never seen. Bank of International Settlement said India has achieved in 7 years what it would have taken India 50 years to achieve. 7 years, what normally would have taken India 50 years to... That has been the transformation. Now, the next phase is that how do you converge DPIs with artificial intelligence? Mm-hmm. And that is what Bhashini is doing. That sitting in a rural area, you speak... Lee Kuan Yew at one stage said, India is crazy because it has so many languages, very difficult to govern. It's very difficult. It has so many languages. But what was then a disadvantage is now in the age of AI a huge advantage, because with these large language models, which Sarvam and all are doing, Sarvam is one of our AI startups, which you can use the local dialects, the local languages. You can be sitting, Bhashini, what do? You're sitting in a rural area speaking with voice. You're not using any writing, but with your voice you can fill up any local form of the state government, of the municipality, central government, using your voice. That will fill up your form, it will go get your approval, give you the benefit, your money will reach your bank account. That is what AI will do eventually. That local dialects, local languages, the power of AI will enable you to use voice to get all the benefits of the government. That will be the transfer. You don't need to write anything. With your voice in the local... The challenge is, Monika, that today 47% of the people, you need to talk to them in Hindi. 15% in Tamil, 10% in Malayalam, 11% Telugu. You got to get everything to them in the regional language or the local dialect. The dialect changes every 15 kilometers. AI will enable you to do that. Your stock market transaction, your insurance, your government schemes, your fast payment, your credit, all will flow through local dialects, local language. That is the power of AI which will happen in India.
How far are we from that?
I think another 6 months to 1
That's
year.
it?
That's it.
I was going to hear years, but no, it's months.
No, 1 year's time,
It's
maximum.
Okay. And that...
Some of this has started happening through Bashni. More will happen.
Okay.
But important thing for India is that India must make large language models. The government of India is supporting 10 startups to create large language models. Those 10 startups are being given computing power at reasonable costs, much lower than Europe and America, and vast amount of data sets are being opened out to startups and researchers in India. The government data sets being opened out, computing power being provided, and these people building large language models is critical for India. Now, the important thing is when large language models are built, then the Indians must use these large language models because data will make it better and better and better. So Indian data must feed Indian large language models. It should not end up feeding ChatGPT. Today, India is providing its data free of cost to ChatGPT to become better. That will only lead to new colonization, a newer form of colonization. And that is why my belief is that India must have large language models, built applications on top of them, and Indians must use their data to improve these LLMs.
Give examples. Is there anything right out in the market right now? Like we all know Gemini, we all know Groww.
Yeah, so what is happening right now is because there's no Indian LLM out into the market, which will all come in the next 1 year. These 10 startups will start putting them up. So right now, Gemini, Groww, ChatGPT, I mean, to an extent where ChatGPT has entered into a MOU with AICTE that in Indian universities will get that access free. If you're on Airtel, you get Google, Gemini free of cost. All that is Indian data. So your Indian data is you're providing Indian data free of cost to them. But eventually they will sell you products. All this will be sold to you at high cost as products based on your data.
And it's beginning to show up in our service trade numbers. Last year, 2024, we turned a trade deficit on services. Because of all that. So we were buying cloud, now we are buying AI services. So this number, we were in a services surplus with US. We turned a deficit last year. So I can see where this goes, and absolutely.
This will all be products sold back to you based on your data.
Right. So, and I've heard you say this, and I have believed in it for a long time, that our financial sector, our banking is world class. It's global. So you go to Europe and you try opening a bank account, you try doing banking in Europe, and literally you will cry. How do we enter those markets? Because we can wipe the floor with the sort of services and the sort of just cutthroat competition that our financial sector has grown up in. We can just succeed there. What sort of prevents us from doing this?
So, many of these, when Walmart bought Flipkart at $20 billion at that point of time, the real value was not in Flipkart. The real value was in PhonePe. I mean, they got 100x more through PhonePe because PhonePe model was unique. And now they're taking PhonePe model to the rest of the world. Similarly, my view is that many Indian model is unique because you're able to do many cutting edge things. The digitization of Indian banks has been quite unique, and their apps are top class. It's been a huge process of learning across. You look at this new app of SBI, you look at the app of HDFC, you look at the app of IDFC or ICICI, they're all top class. It's all digital banking which is taking place. I've not been to a physical bank manager for 4.5, 5 years. I've not used my checkbooks. I don't use credit cards. I've not been to an ATM machine for 5 years now. It's all through my mobile, which happens, all transactions. This is unparalleled anywhere in the world. We've made banking virtual almost. And I think many of our Indian banks, instead of looking at, one is that firstly, my view is that the credit to GDP ratio, with this extent of digitization, the flow of credit to our MSMEs must improve. That's critical. The credit to GDP ratio in India is still low. It's very high in the United States, it's 200%, Korea is 180%, and India is 50%. So if India needs to grow at 9 to 10% per annum for 3 decades, you need greater flow of credit. That's important. Number 2, Indian banks must go global. Indian banks, many of these banks should actually go and acquire banks abroad and take much of the learning from India in terms of digitization, should spread across the world. So there's no reason why Indian banks should not acquire banks abroad, or why the model of phone pay or Paytm should not go global at all. These should be, what they've done to transform India is phenomenal, and that should be taken abroad.
Do you see any move for any of the, is there any attempt?
Walmart is taking phone pay.
So Walmart has come from outside.
I think Paytm is also buying some banks abroad.
Okay.
Okay. Why should we say that ICICI should not become more global? Why should it be just India?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. No, you mentioned credit, and I think people underestimate the need for working capital, just cash flow management.
Yeah.
For a large company, of course, but especially a small, medium enterprise, the use of UPI for credit, where, at what stage is that journey? And
so, now you have so much of data, Monika.
Yeah.
The data in terms of your transaction, in terms of your GST, so much of data that the need for collateral should stop.
Yeah.
You should be able to provide credit based on, cash flows, looking at the past history on data. That should really be the key.
An account aggregator is something which
That's very critical. The account aggregator is really, what is he say? What is the account aggregator doing? It's saying that you're looking at the history based on data available from various sources.
Right.
I mean, and that data enables you to provide the credit. That is really a path-breaking effort which India will do.
So again, are we seeing the providers of credit take into account the non-collateral way of accepting that if the auto guy says he makes 100 trips a day and his GPS confirms to it, then indeed he must be earning this much?
It started happening in a big way. And I think the other thing which happened was that this during COVID, when the government came up with the first loss guarantee. So, the government picks up the first loss guarantee. Right. So it enabled a lot of more flow of credit to the MSME sector. That is what should be done.
Right. I want to move to logistics, which has been a real pain point for business. I think the logistic cost in India is about 14% of GDP. Global average is 9%.
It's falling sharply.
So I'm coming to the Gati Shakti, PM Gati Shakti, where apparently the ULIP, the Unified Logistic Interface Platform, is the UPI for logistics. So I think just talk a little bit to the audience about what this is, how it is being used, and what it will do to the entire logistic infrastructure. How much effort is going into building all of this? And also, when I read about initiatives like Gati Shakti, I also think that for a lot of us, we don't realize how much of deep change is actually happening, and this will manifest maybe in the next 4 to 5 years when all of this sort of those pipelines are connected.
No, the two transformational thing that's happened is the Prime Minister's push for Gati Shakti. So layers and layers of information is available now. And when we used to do planning for infrastructure, and I've been at the end of it because I was CEO of Delhi-Mumbai corridor. So when we were planning the Shendra-Bidkin city, if you go and see it now, it's huge over-investments that have taken place in Shendra-Bidkin. You're making a new city, but you need to do drainage, you need to do sewage, you need to do roads, you need to provide, railway network to it. You can't have a city in isolation. You need to do all this. You need to create a very large logistic hub in Dadri, but you need road connectivity, rail connectivity. You need layers and layers of information which is not available. So India never used to converge. It always thinking was in silo. I will do this, but I won't look at railway. I won't look at roads. I won't look at drainage. I won't look at sewage. All that has broken down. Now, whatever you plan now, today, whatever you're planning a new city, you're planning it in totality, in a holistic manner, because Gati Shakti enables you to do that. So layers of information, and everybody works together. So the railway, you're planning for a new logistic hub. The railway guy will plan for the rail network. The road guy will plan, NHAI will plan for the road network. State government will provide for the PWD roads. And you will have drainage, sewage, solid waste, water, all connected because of Gati Shakti. That, to my mind, has really been the path-breaking effort. And the state governments loved it and lapped onto this. So Gati Shakti was made available to the state government and is now being made available to the private sector of India. So whatever planning the private sector does can now use Gati Shakti for all these layers and layers of data to converge and integrate, and state governments can also work with the private sector. So I think that has been path breaking, that the creation of infrastructure and future in India will not be in silos. And the second thing was about ULIP, that you transport any luggage, you are able to, it's like digital public infrastructure. That good becomes then the container then becomes really you through all, whether it's moving through buses or lorries or through containers or through trains, all that is being tracked regularly, and is till the point of exports, is from the point of it's being packaged at the point of production to the point of exports, everything is digitally tracked and you are kept aware. And so that today you are able to find out which exporter is moving through which lorry, through which train, at what speed, and at what point of time will that good reach the point of export destination, and where is that package held up. So this is transformational to my mind, and knowledge really is power, which is what digital technology is enabling you to do.
Right. And is this true for all goods traveling across the country, or increasing number?
No, it is almost everybody is now coming.
Everyone,
in ULIP.
Because the
ULIP has been, and ULIP, was something which was pushed by Prime Minister during the COVID period. He asked NITI Aayog, when I was CEO, to do some can we use COVID to do some? So we looked at 5 or 6 things, one of which was the ULIP, which came out, which actually the private sector worked with us to actually work it out, which is then given to the NICDIC corridor to take it forward, and that's how ULIP came up.
And this will mean lower costs for consumers?
Lower cost of logistics. Hugely lower cost of logistics,
margins
but
are
great benefits for purposes of imports, exports.
Right. And we should see profit margins go up, consumer prices go down.
And India becoming a more productively efficient economy.
Right.
The important thing is that productivity levels will rise, cost efficiency will come in, you'll become a more competitive economy in the global markets. That's the key.
So you've had a vantage point in terms of seeing the very big picture of India. I think it is really work in progress. So a lot has been done, but a lot of, for example, when you think of this logistic change, you see that there is a whole lot happening just behind the scenes. When do all the dots connect, you think? So 91 was that one moment.
Yeah.
But
no, so a lot of dots on digitization were connected. You see, if you look at it, fast payment, credit, stock markets, all those dots have got connected on the digital side. I think the DigiLocker, the FASTag, all that is digital. That bit has got. Now, to my mind, I think there are 2 other dots which need to be connected or India to work. One is, and both have been announced in the budget. One is the manufacturing mission.
Yes.
Making India a manufacturing. You can't be an importing nation where you're importing solar, you're importing wind, you're importing battery, you're importing electric. whatever your needs are from China. You can't be import dependent to China in such a big way. The world has lost its art of manufacturing and outsourced it to China, but India can't afford to do this over a long period of time in critical areas. You can't be dependent on them for critical minerals as well. So in that bid was announced in the budget in terms of a manufacturing mission and a critical clean tech mission. I think both these need to converge, and that is one bit of work which needs to be done. And the other bit is what was also announced was the challenge route for urban renewal. Both these are budget announcements. Now, the challenge route, the government said it will put in 1 lakh crore of rupees to drive a major urban renewal. And urbanization is the major driver of growth. Manufacturing is a major driver of job creation. Both these should be the next big driver of India's growth story, to my mind.
The manufacturing mission, I think it's going to be implemented soon.
Yeah,
very soon.
I think it's at its final stages.
I believe.
It's at its final stages.
Yeah, I think.
But then, much like what we did with digitization, this will be an effort of the next 4 to 5 years of converging all this. Converging different ministries, states, linking up the corridors, all that is important. And similarly on urbanization, building up a challenge route to make states, municipalities compete and get success on ground, and only when they achieve the results, it should all be outcome based. Only when they deliver that, you provide them the funding for that.
You see political and bureaucratic will you can have the Prime Minister who's personally pushing for some of these. Does it lose momentum as it goes through the system? So we understand that we've not seen political will like this, I don't think ever.
Yeah.
But sometimes you think that it sort of loses momentum, it gets clogged through the arteries which are not used to this sort of...
No, there's huge political will. There's huge enthusiasm. I mean, I see this in UP. UP, the kind of transformation that is.
Right.
I see this in Maharashtra, the massive transformation that has taken place in Maharashtra in terms of infrastructure, or UP. So, I mean, if you see this, or much of the developmental work which also took place in Bihar, which has now got demonstrated, what has started happening is that votes are getting directly related to good governance.
Right.
So good governance, if you are not able to provide good governance, you will never win an election, is really the key to my mind. And therefore, good governance is the key to electoral victories. And therefore, my view is that manufacturing mission and urban renewal missions, when well implemented, will ensure victories in municipalities and in state governments, which is very important.
Yeah, and then it sort of then ties in with where we started on tourism. Because when you talk of urban renewal, when you talk of ease of traveling through the country, when you talk of all of those things, then the tourism piece also comes and sits nicely, because you actually have cleaned up the cities. You are in a place where the tourist doesn't come in and find, a dysfunctional city, a municipality. So possibly, would it be correct to say that the next 10 years, we should see actually all of this rolling out, and the larger dots will begin to connect manifestly?
Why should it take 10 years?
It shouldn't take 10 years.
It should roll out by next year, and in the next 5 years, we should have at least 150 cities of India totally transformed.
Okay.
Next 5 years, we should transform at least 150 cities of some of the finest cities in the world. That should be our ambition. And we should have, India should be manufacturing electric vehicles, which Mahindra and Tatas are doing already. We should be getting electric batteries. All the components should be made in India. We should be driving the processing of critical raw material. All should be a next 3 years plan. We can't afford to wait for 10 years time. It's too long a time. Next 3 years, India must transform itself in both manufacturing and urban renewal.
Yeah, you've called hybrid vehicles as typewriters in a digital age. Yeah. I've heard that. But when I go past the petrol bunks, I see long lines for CNG. So there was a whole transfer made to CNG. They couldn't get the supply chain right.
Yeah.
I would hesitate today to buy a fully electric vehicle, not knowing where the charging would happen.
No, don't hesitate at all. Charging is spreading across India in a very big way. See, the thing which is why I talk about electric vehicles, because the tail pipeline emission is zero.
No, that's right.
I mean, if you have to, it's like what India did. It skipped the pager technology, went straight into mobile. It went straight into open source for digital public infrastructure. Never go for second best. You want to technologically leapfrog. If you're going in for the best technology, that's the electric technology, not hybrid. Because here you are again going back into second-class technology. India must always technologically leapfrog into the next era.
How do we solve the charging problem? I'm traveling from here to Jaipur.
So government is now put charging, all state governments are putting charging stations, but more than that, all chargers will now be available on one app. So that app will give you the perspective of whether that charger is going to give you charging of next 300 kilometers or 500 kilometers. But state governments are pushing for charging in a very big way. And the government of India e-drive's mission is all based on charging.
Right. So the next vehicle should be a fully electric vehicle.
Absolutely.
You drive one?
I have a Mahindra EV vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. So just the last question. The audience loves to hear.
I drive an EV vehicle and it's top class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
The Mahindra EV is better than, and even the Tata Harrier, both of them are top class. I mean, I'm saying this because all Indian manufacturers must go electric. I mean, there's no point in selling fossil fuel cars. India must become the center of electric vehicle manufacturing, and not only for the domestic market, it should be penetrating global markets. Maruti is making EVs for exports. It should also make EVs for the domestic market.
We can compete with China?
Yeah, we will. We should. And we
must. In terms of cost.
Yeah, in terms of cost. After all, we are the biggest manufacturers of two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers. Why not? We should use the domestic strength of our market to export.
Right.
And government should buy only electric cars. I don't know why government is buying fossil fuel cars.
Yeah. I think it should start from the top, right?
Yeah,
the government should show that we are using it.
No.
It's good enough for me. It's good enough for you.
Government secretaries are all running on fossil fuel Maruti cars. They should all they should only buy electric vehicle cars.
Right. So just the last question is that the audience loves to hear what the guests are reading and what you would recommend. So it's a young audience. What do you think? What are you reading right now? And what do you think they should read in terms of, just understanding the complex world that we live in and what India looks like in the future? So,
2 books I would recommend. One is Apple in China.
Yes.
And how they got the size and scale of manufacturing. Yes. It'll give them a perspective of what it takes to establish an ecosystem for manufacturing, which will be good for us to understand. And the second is the chip war, how the future will be decided by the chips in every area, whether it's defense, electronics, vehicles, everything will depend on chips. So these are both very fascinating books, which your audience must read.
Right. And where are we on the chip journey?
We have the semiconductor mission has pushed it. 10 companies are doing different stages of manufacturing in India. We are already a leading power in design, but I think we are working towards that. It's semiconductor missions done well.
Okay. On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Lovely talking to you. Wonderful
Likewise.
Speaking to you. Thank you.
That was a great conversation. I do these so that you can join the dots yourself and make up your own mind about the India story. Do tell me who you'd like me to invite next.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing. Please read the risk disclosure documents carefully before investing in equity shares, derivatives, mutual fund, and or other instruments traded on the stock exchanges.